because I always knew I was Mennonite, like Nate, like all sides of my family are Mennonite, come from like that Mennonite lineage. So very much like the culture, the food was such a big part of my growing up, even though I didn't attend a Mennonite church.
Yeah, mine would be similar, where I identified and knew that this was our heritage and knew that this was our faith heritage, and was attending different churches in different parts of the world that we'd grown up in where there weren't Mennonite churches around, but that there's a theology to build around this that has to do with, that's more of a spirituality. This should be real flesh and blood type living, and that was what I identified with the Mennonite faith, of saying, oh, we take Jesus' lifestyle seriously. I wasn't ordained as a kid, or when I was like in my late teens, but I was helping to lead in a church and leading the youth, and then went overseas on the mission field through Mennonite Church Canada, and then came back and would maybe have been more officially a pastor for the last 7 years or so.
Is that the church you're still with now?
Yes.
Southridge.
That's right.
So is Southridge Mennonite Brethren?
It was.
Now,
yeah.
Is it still part of the membership of the Mennonite institution?
Not formally at this point.
Can you talk about why it was removed?
I can. We're a part of the Mennonite Brethren conference, and in our journey towards inclusivity with LGBTQ plus community, we had hoped to say, well, can we hold sort of different theologies on this, and can we continue to be in the same denomination and sort of work within that? And the answer at this point has been no, and so we've been removed from our that denomination, but that's where we had come from. And
so you cannot proceed with same-sex marriage?
We can now, because we're not in the denomination anymore. So yeah.
Julieanne, you had a same-sex marriage. Mm-hmm. Where did you get married, and who married you?
So I got married at my parents' house in their backyard. So we were able to choose what we wanted for our ceremony, and like the words that we wanted to use and that kind of stuff.
Do you use traditional gospel?
Yeah.
Was there challenges for this with you?
Like yes and no. Like my wife comes from the Catholic denomination, so that one's a little bit more against LGBTQ stuff. So for us, it just made sense that we both kind of were removed from both of our denominations when we got married. But it's kind of the same. Like I don't think I would have been able to get married in my church, but I also didn't ask to be. So I don't know exactly when it was that you guys got removed from the MB, but I know more recently, I guess, they've kind of said, we don't necessarily can say yes or no about it, but each church can choose their own feelings about it. But I would say I didn't give our church the opportunity to say yes or no, but that was just personally, we didn't really want to have that conversation. So,
Kit, you chose to go to Southridge as a church for you. Was that a place you chose as a safe home place for you?
Yeah, in high school, I think I was probably about 17. So that was when it was still MB. And I started going there because I had friends at school that were going there. I went to Eden. And that was more of a fit for me. I kind of like outgrew the church that I grew up in. Yeah, and they just had a more interesting like youth program there. They didn't shy away from questioning things, which I was, at 17, I was very much into that.
When you go to your church now, mm-hmm. if you recognize someone else is in your community, someone else is gay, queer there, what advice would you give them?
I think it's just, be yourself. Like we all have different identities, like whether it's like you said, like you're a writer or whatever, like it shouldn't really matter. And so just like, if you feel a certain way, then that's true to you. So just feel how you're supposed to. And, there's a lot of people out there that are the same. So, take courage in that at least.
You wouldn't ever consider leaving the church?
I have no reason to at this point. I still connect with my church, but I haven't really had a lot of animosity, so maybe if I did, then I would change churches, but I don't think I would leave faith completely.
So for you, does sexuality come before faith, or does faith come before sexuality?
I don't think they can be separated. For me, faith is about exploring and celebrating our interconnectedness between all of us. Sexuality is a small part of that for me. Friendships are a big part of that. Being out in nature is part of that. So it's all connected for me. So it's not like one thing comes above something else. It's all interconnected. So for me, yeah, faith is about connection. Yeah, like there's so many different identities that we hold all at the same time.
Yeah.
Like I'm also a writer, you know, I'm an community organizer, I'm queer, I have faith, you know, person of faith. It's all, yeah, you can't tease one part out of me and separate it from everything else. It's just all a part of who I am.
Do you feel embraced by the Mennonite Church?
The one that I started going to recently, very much so. So I started attending Grace United Mennonite in St. Catharines in February. I saw that they were involved with organizing for Palestine, for peace and justice in Palestine. And I thought that's the kind of church that, if I were to go back, that's the kind of church that I would want to go to. So I started attending there and was embraced with open arms. I don't show up at a church being, you know, I'm queer, I'm here, deal with it. I'm just like, this is me, this is who I am. And they knew, I don't know. I just have those vibes, I guess.
Nate, do you think that there's a future for the Mennonite Church and our newly arrived consciousness of inclusivity?
Not only do I think there's a future, and I actually think I do think that's what we're rooted in. I mean, even in sort of like the radical, I mean, within 500 years ago, and this radical Reformation, I think that was what some of that was leading towards, towards that sense of inclusivity. And at the time, it was different issues that people were dealing with in regards to perceptions of faith and baptism and various pieces of, you know, what it means to live a life of faith. But what Kit and Julieanne are both saying here, like it's so that there's such a, I think that there was more of a sense of sort of the interconnectedness of various parts of life and faith and culture, and that was some of what to me was a real part of being Anabaptist and being Mennonite.
Could you imagine not being in the church again now? Would you leave it?
Leaving the faith is not really an option to me. I can't imagine what my life would be like without it. Even when I didn't have anything to do with church as an institution, faith was still deeply important. And even when I thought, you know, I was rejecting faith, it was these ideals that I had grown up with that I was rejecting. Ideas based in white supremacy, capitalism, colonialism. Those were the things that I was actually walking away from while I was getting closer to God and coming to a deeper understanding of what faith meant to me. So I wanted to find, when I thought, okay, maybe I'm ready to go back to the church as a place, I need to find a place that fits me, not where I can fit.
What's your biggest challenge as a pastor?
I think being able to help each other to have the grace, to help everybody have the grace to recognize that people are on different parts of that journey. And that, again, the end point of that journey I don't think is a single fixed point, but that I think it's being able to journey together. And I think so often it's hard to convey that like Kit had said, that, you know, it's okay, we can hold things in tension and we can still actually relate to each other and even like each other, and that we're actually meant to love each other. But to be able to hold those tensions and just journey together, that's a challenge.